There's one character I just want to date and fill his sad heart with love. I asked on Reddit which video game characters you'd like to date, and this is your top list. And the first game to be turned into a dating sim is Final Fantasy XIV, with Emeric, who is voiced by Senna from Love or Pretend and Alan from Hermaphrodite. He's an open, virtuous leader who stands up for equality. And excuse me for mispronouncing every name. Then Hoshefund. He's open-minded, friendly and adventurous, always happy to help out or flirt. Graha, who is voiced by Yosuga in Olympia Soirée and Vilio in Radiant Tale. An eccentric but actually warm and cute cat boy. Astinian, who is stoic and brusque. Driven by revenge, he has little compassion for the weak and doesn't care much about companionship, though his attitude softens over time. Hien Lijin, who also voices Reiji in Diabolic Lovers. An honourable and wise leader who values the safety of his followers the most. Thrans, a sly womanizer whose fate made him become harsher. And lastly, Udiyanga Ogureld, who is voiced by Ken, who also voices Shelby in Cupid Parasite. He often speaks in riddles and knows the first aside in practically every situation. As these characters are all part of a bigger story, they could all tell their story from their very special perspective and thereby paint a bigger picture. But there are rumors of the Final Fantasy stuff of wanting to implement dating mechanics, so maybe this dream will come true soon. And he also wished for the Final Fantasy VII dating game, and after a short discussion decided to make Aerith the MC, who can date Zack as an energetic puppy-like character with a short attention span but who is very loyal and dreams of becoming a hero. He's easy to be with, likes to flirt with the women, but is protective of his friends. And Tsang, who could be a stern kudere, who has feelings for Aerith since her childhood. And of course Cloud, having a cool and cocky attitude. Cloud at first glance seems like somewhat disinterested and cool-headed, but beneath this shell lies a sometimes socially awkward and loyal boy. So either he could be the true root, or alternatively Sephiroth, the calm and cold villain with a god complex. He feels superior to others and even enjoys emotionally tormenting his enemies, especially Cloud. So like the hidden bad guy route, or enemies come to lovers trope, and then maybe either with a redemption arc or pure toxic joy. Fire Emblem Three Houses is kind of already a dating sim, but I think there's still room for improvement and for some dreams. Starting with Dimitri, a chivalrous royal who yet dislikes pretentiousness and hides a dark secret. He's a strong fighter, but unskilled when it comes to delicate work. After being traumatized by surviving a terrible slaughter, being able to save others gives him reason to live. And you suggested him to be actually the canon route. Then Felix, a sharp-tongued fighter who enjoys duels and respects other people's strength. Speaking his mind makes him come across rude, especially when someone tries to disturb his fighting practice. And he could be a tsundere or enemies to lovers trope. Then we have Sylvan, the notorious womanizer who is easygoing and shallow, thereby hiding the fact that he feels unable to form a deep romantic relationship. And obviously he would be the flirt character, just trying to hide his true character. Then Dedue, or Deju, a stoic gentleman and man of few words. You never quite know what he's actually thinking, and he's not as easily swayed and doesn't reveal his emotions. Definitely a kudere, if you ask me. Then Claude, he's casual and easygoing, always smiling and joking around. While appearing lazy, he's actually a skilled strategist, abhorring killing and rather taking people captive, while at the same time prioritizing his people's safety. I think he would be the easy to be with Genki Boy and my personal true route. Then we also have Ash. He is friendly and optimistic, having a special understanding of people of lesser social status or fortune. Ignaz, who is too polite for his own good, the kind and optimistic Shota. And Raphael, who is strong, not the most intelligent, but honest, and an upright teddy bear. I think the settings and the diverse characters are kind of destined to be an otome game with different stories depending on the house you pick. And the game whose characters everyone wants to date the most is Genshin Impact. Starting with Childe, who shares the voice with Nicola from Pure Fiore. He's described as kind of a bad guy, though he appears friendly, he's actually a bloodthirsty warrior who loves the kick of fighting even if he could be killed. But when it comes to his friends and family, he's dedicated and loyal. And I can definitely see the flirty character and rivals to lovers trope. Then Kaeya, who shares a voice with Madoka from Clock Zero. He is charismatic, charming and confident, likes tricking other people into doing his work and only cares about the goal, not so much about the means. His urge to support the traveler might be a sign of his concealed loneliness. So with him he seems like a deep, two-faced character that just screams tragic otome route. Xiao shares a voice actor with Akaza from Olympia Soirée. As a cruel yaksha, Xiao prefers to stay alone and wants to stay away from mortal affairs, and therefore is not accustomed to human norms, finding them strange. But after meeting the traveler, he opens up and is willing to learn more about human life. I think a cute weirdo is always very refreshing to date. Zhongli is voiced by the same voice actor as Riichiro in Clock Zero. He is humble and polite, experienced and knowledgeable, yet his biggest fault is spending money without thinking about it and financially relying on others. So maybe a lovable and unintentionally funny kudere? Kazuha shares the voice with Riku from Olympia Soiree. He's a sensitive and skilled traveler who sometimes can be lost in thought and extremely creative, writing haiku, and would never hesitate to help out a friend. So kind of a sweet eccentric. Albedo is voiced by Shion in Variable Barricade, an introverted and reclusive alchemist driven by the thirst for knowledge. He keeps his personal past a secret, but doesn't mind opening up to the traveler. So kind of a secluded eccentric who slowly opens up to the MC. Goro is voiced by the same voice actor as Yukinami in Paradigm Paradox. With dog blood flowing in his veins, Goro is a loyal and courageous fighter. He always tries to help others out, but is especially inexperienced when it comes to love. And I think a clumsy shota is necessary for any good game. Toma is voiced by Yanagi from Colleagues Malice. A bright and easy to be with loyal comrade who is a housekeeper enjoying cleaning and cooking. A bright, easy to be with character who will do anything for the MC. Lastly, we have Dainsleeve, who's just announced and will be voiced by Yuan from Pure Fjord in 1926. I think the stories in this hypothetical otome game could be to large extents be separate, discovering the backstory of each character, or maybe even making a branching common route depending on like which location or which faction you choose to be with. And Mihoyo, you already made Tears of Nemesis, so why not make another gacha otome game with the characters of Genshin Impact? Other franchises you wish to date the characters of were the Tales series, the Persona series, but there we gladly have the Persona visual novel that is in development, and the Yakuza series. And what I personally would wish for is an otome game of the Atelier series. Although there already technically is an Atelier otome game for the PSP, it's quite outdated and wasn't very successful. So I vote for a modern entry from Ryza, for example, because the small like flirting mechanism in Atelier Escan Logi DX weren't enough either. So I would like an Ryza otome game where we can date Tao, Lind and Boss, and I would suggest Boss would be the true route in an enemies to lover story. Or alternatively maybe a Sophie otome game with Oscar, Harold and Giulio as the true route, because he's way too pretty to just not be romanceable. Or just make a mashup with all the male Atelier characters with a totally new MC. I'm fine with everything. But the reason I made this video actually was one very specific character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And that is Jin, who also voices Rui in Nil Admirali non Tembi. He's actually one of the villains of the game, but that doesn't change the fact that his character design and voice are just too gorgeous. His big background story heartbreaking, and his dialogue in tonal in the Golden Country way too suggestive. So please let me fill his empty heart with love. And then we could also add the like 2 other male blades, but yeah, I see it's not really predestined to be an otome game. So just give me Jin, please. But thankfully there are already other non-otome games with dating mechanics. And also in Assassin's Creed there are some little quest lines where you can romance some characters restricted to this one quest line. And in Divinity 2 you also have the chance to quirkily romance some of the weird characters. And also in Skyrim it was super simple with just one quest line and that's it. But in Mass Effect you can romance aliens over the 3 different games. And I think the Dragon Age series has actually the most elaborate dating mechanics depending on your character and on your dialogue choices. Other games with small dating mechanics are Shining Resonance, where you can date either your male or female allies with dialogue choices. In Summer Night you can't really date the guys, but you have at least night talks, and that's suggestive enough to make it pass. The newest game probably was Maglum Lord, with kind of simple mechanics, but still you can romance a few characters with dialogue options. Not to mention of course the farming games like Stardew Valley, My Time at Portia, or like the Story of Season Harvest Moon entries. But for my personal taste, the romance still falls a bit short in this game. And believe it or not, it was way easier to find games where you can romance girls, like the Persona series, Catherine, Conception, Cyberpunk, Akiba's Trip, Yakuza, Hades, Hero Must Die, Trails of Cold Steel, Witcher, Sakura Wars, Fairy Fencer, Dragonstar Vania, just to name a few. But it was so hard to find games where you can romance men. That might be partly due to that still the majority of game characters are men. People tend to think that then men have to date women, or that in many female-oriented fan-servicey games, there's also a fan-servicey shallow romance subplot, but they still often lack a deeper narrative. So I just wish there were more games to allow us to date all these cute video game characters. Which character do you have an unrequited love for? And watch this video if you're curious about what your favorite character says about your personality.